Hello everybody, Mike from the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike podcast here, and I am back with another edition of Front Row, these live music reaction analysis videos, and I am returning to the wonderful world of Elvis Presley. But this is not live music that I'm talking about, it's another interview, this one from 1960. A number of people on the comments have suggested this, so I thought I'd take a look. I believe this is from a press conference from when he returned from his tenure in the military. So, yeah, I don't know what to expect about this. I thought that the last interview that I covered was really insightful, and I would be very interested to get a sense of Elvis as a younger man. Before I do that, quick reminder that I do talk over these videos. I do pause them. That's just how I do it. Apologies in advance if that is not to your taste, but it is what it is. And also just a quick reminder to please do leave comments and subscribe. Subscriptions make a huge difference to the channel. It's what ultimately raises the profile, brings people here, gets the conversation going, and that is what it is all about. Additionally, please do check out the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike, the audio podcast that shares this feed where my wife Hannah and I go back and rewatch some of our favourite film and television franchises, in addition to the various film, television, music and other assorted pop culture related goodness that shares this channel. Last but not least, do appreciate contributions through PayPal, which you can do here on the channel, but please remember, only contribute if you can do so without causing yourself any financial hardship. So right, let's go. Elvis Presley press conference 1960. Let's watch this.
And then I have the picture with Mr. Wallace, and after that I have two for 20th Century Fox.
Okay, first of all, just how impossibly beautiful is this man? I mean, he's just a statue there, isn't he? Obviously, you know, very young. This is sort of the beginning of phase 2 of his career. But yeah, I mean, it's this is back when pop stars kind of just appeared out of the heavens. You know, this is before Pop Idol and X Factor and YouTube and Carpool Karaoke and all of these things that have demythologized the pop star. But this is back in an age where it did feel like they came from Mount Olympus. Yeah, what an incredible looking person.
And after that, heaven knows, I don't. I suppose it'll keep me busy the rest of this year.
A smile and that laugh.
After that, I don't know.
Well, Elvis, now you're really home. How does it feel?
It's pretty hard to describe, I'll tell you. It's hard to get used to, you know. I mean, I've been looking forward to it for 2 years, and all of a sudden, here it is. It's not easy to...
It must have really changed the public perception of Elvis. I mean, I know that he was moving into a phase of his career where I guess he was being brought into the household a lot more, and he was, you know, the rough edges were being brushed off him a little bit. And I guess that the public perception of him having done his service probably meant that he was embraced more by some of the more conservative elements of America, I would imagine.
Now that you are back, as you look back on your 2 years in the service, what was the most important thing that happened to you during your 2 years, whether it was overseas or here in the States?
Well, there were a number of things that happened. Had quite a few interesting experiences. Slept out in the snow. HC rations, you know, all the regular things. But I suppose the biggest thing of all is the fact that I did make it. I made it just like everybody. I mean, I tried to play it straight, you know, like everybody else. And I made a lot of friends that I never would have made otherwise. And all in all, it's been a pretty good experience, you know.
You still have time to serve now for Uncle Sam. Have you given any thought as to where you're going to serve your reserve training?
Well, sir, I will be on the reserve status here in Memphis at the Reserve Center here. But they have a clause which covers people with traveling jobs. If you have a traveling job or if you live too far away from your reserve center, they put you on standby. Whereas you don't have to make their meetings, but you are subject to be called at any emergency or anything of that nature.
Elvis, one of your future commitments, as you mentioned, is the Frank Sinatra show on the ABC television network. Do you have any idea of when this will be aired?
I really don't know the exact date.
It's interesting seeing how much more kind of reserved and thoughtful he is here. I don't know if this is just a youth thing all the time, or maybe some of that residual military environmental stuff. I mean, he's a polite Southern boy. I think he probably always called people sir anyway. That was just a deferential, respectful thing that I think people had then. The nervous energy isn't there. He's much more measured and much more thoughtful. So it is really interesting seeing those differences. And also the reference to the Frank Sinatra show, the comeback show, which I've sort of covered a little bit of here, but I might actually get to do some more of that after this.
I would imagine it's somewhere around the 1st of May.
If you'll forgive me, I have one other part to my question. We understand, speaking of Frank Sinatra, that there has been some rumor about Nancy Sinatra and yourself. Is there a romance in the making here?
No, sir, I'm afraid not. I only met her in Fort Dix, and she gave me a gift from Frank, and it was very brief. I think she's engaged to Tommy Sands. I don't think he would appreciate that from us.
There's something about this guy's smile and laugh that just ingratiates him. You just want to be part of his world, don't you? And you can see that's, I mean, it's charm. Ultimately, it's just charisma and charm and that X factor that I don't know if anybody has had to the level that Elvis had, particularly here in his formative years.
Elvis, do you think the music has changed since you've been out of the service? I mean, since you've been in the service?
Possibly, yes. I can't say, really. I haven't been here long enough to even know. Excuse me. The only thing I can say is that if it has changed, well, I would be foolish not to try to change with it,
I think the one thing that hasn't changed about him, or hadn't changed about him between this and the 72 interview, is, it's the politeness and, the way he excused himself there when there was that slight talking over each other. He's assertive and he carried on, but he was very respectful.
But as of now, I have no reason to change anything.
As to your acting, you have stated you would like to be a more serious actor. And do you plan to possibly go to some school or some dramatic school?
Well, it wouldn't hurt me any to go to school, but I learn best by experience.
Yeah. You were born with it.
I never was very good in schools of any kind. And it's going to take me a long time and a lot of experience.
But that is your ultimate ambition?
But as at the present time, it really is. That's what I want to do.
Interesting.
You were asked about Nancy Sinatra. How about any romance? Did you leave any heart, shall we say, in Germany?
Interesting, because didn't he meet Priscilla in Germany, I think? Again, Elvis novice here. Never seen this before. Yeah, let's see if he evades this.
Not any special one. There was a little girl that I was seeing quite often over there. That her father was in the Air Force, and actually they only got over there about 2 months before I left. I was seeing her, and she was at the airport when I left, and there were some pictures made of her, but it was no big romance. I mean, the stories came out, the girl he left behind, and all that. It wasn't like that. I mean, I had to be careful when I answer a question like that.
Yeah.
In your service life, which did you find the most difficult when you went into basic training, or when you got over into Germany, over with the experienced soldiers? Which gave you the hardest time?
Well, basic training wasn't hard for me at all. It was harder afterwards, after I had gotten into a regular outfit. Not the service itself, but just the surroundings, and I was in a strange land, and the outfit I was in, they had quite a bit of field duty. We stayed in the field 6 months out of the year.
I mean, I know that really Elvis didn't travel that much in his life. And again, there's a lot of reasons been positive for why that might be. So I guess that this army experience that he had must have been huge for him. You know, I don't even know if he'd even ever left America before doing that. So the amount of living and experience gathering and emotional development that would have fed into his art must have occurred during that period of time, I would have thought.
And it gets cold in Germany. It snows quite a bit. And it was pretty hard to adjust to.
One thing further on that, do you have any advice for the boys your age who are now going to have to put in a certain amount of duty in the service?
Well, the only thing I can say is to play it straight and do your best, because you can't fight them.
The other thing about Elvis that's interesting is I spoke before about this gulf between the myth and the man. And one element of Elvis that people parody or impersonate is his voice, that drawl. And it shouldn't be underestimated how much that is part of his persona. But also just the drawl has this kind of hypnotic, almost soporific effect, which, a bit like the smile and the humour, feels very unthreatening and very inviting. You know, I think you do get this real sense of inclusion and invitation from Elvis as a performer, but you also get that from the man, from these interactions with him. And I know that this is a press conference, so there is a formality there. But it is interesting to see that those communication skills and that power of connection that he had as a singer and as a performer really are there in every level of interaction that he seemed to have.
They've never lost yet, you know? And you can't fight them. So you can make it easy or you can make it hard on yourself. I mean, if you play it straight, get the people on your side, let them know you're trying, you as the Army would say, you've got it made. And if you're going to try to be an individual or try to be different, you're going to go through 2 years of misery.
Elvis, when do you think you'll record again? And when you do you think you'll lean toward the ballad-type music or the more upbeat sounds?
Well, as far as when I'll record, I really don't know. Possibly this week or next week. And what I'll record, I don't know yet.
Things moved fast back then, didn't they? And that's the point, is he'd been out for a couple of years. Now that's nothing. But 2 years was, in popular culture in the late 50s, was like 100 years. So I think it speaks to the power of his celebrity that he was able to come back and just get back involved in it. But you can hear here, they're not hanging around. He's like, right, I'm going to record next week. Don't know what I'm recording, but we're going to go. You know, we're going to start making those sausages again. You know.
2 songs to choose from. I've collected over the 2 years, but I don't know exactly what type or what instruments I'll use. Whether it be the Firestone Orchestra or Monty Bunny or what. I really don't know yet. Shoot.
You said that at the train that you wanted to get back to what you were doing, and of course that is singing and entertaining. And I take it from that you really enjoy what you're doing, or what you were doing before you went into service.
Oh, yes, I do. In fact, that was the hardest part of the entire military service, is being away from it.
Being away from the fans and
just being away from show business altogether. That was the hardest part of all. It wasn't the Army, it wasn't the other men.
I love his earnestness. It's very likable.
Kept thinking about the past all the time, contemplating the future. And
where is this interview taking place?
We know your family status has changed since you went into service. Are you going to keep Graceland? Do you have plans of moving away from them?
His mother died while he was away, did she?
For leaving me.
And you're going to keep Graceland?
I'm going to keep Graceland as long as I possibly can.
Well, was this Christmas tree a surprise?
Well, since it's March, it's a little surprise. That's the tree we used in 1957.
We can leave the Christmas tree long enough. About your tonsils and the tonsillectomy that you were contemplating while you were in the service, did you deliberately ask that it be held off until you could get to the United States and a local doctor?
No, sir.
Or did they improve that much?
I didn't ask that. They don't like to perform surgery of any kind in Europe. They don't like to. If it's an emergency, they will. But I took penicillin and wonder drugs or whatever they call them. And I got
no
okay.
recurrence, huh?
I had 2 attacks of tonsillitis when I was there.
Elvis, did you like the food over there outside of the Army? When you would go out, did you like that type of food?
I never went out. So
You never ate out in a restaurant?
I never ate in a restaurant.
Wow.
The time I was in Germany.
No privilege there.
I either ate in the mess hall or at home.
Good on you, son.
I never went anywhere while I was in Europe except to Paris. I went to Paris and on a leave, and that was all.
Now, how did the fans respond to you over there as compared to here in the States?
Well, it's a pretty difficult question to answer because anything I'll say, it might sound a little like I'm bragging, but it was...
Yeah, that's interesting. He's so conscious of not being all that, Yeah, humble. Humble's the word.
Pretty much the same there as here.
They had seen a lot of your movies.
And the records and so forth.
Wow, that was really interesting. I mean, he does seem very reserved, but you can see the humor. And, he's obviously just reacclimatizing to civilian life and recalibrating. But it really is a reminder of how powerful a cultural force he was, that it's this much of a story, but also just the fact that he was able to just reconnect into his career after being away from entertainment for 2 years in the late 50s when, the entertainment cycles move very quickly. And also just, how he just looks incredible and, mythic almost. And just how you can see there is still a little bit of a wink in the eye, when they're talking about girls. There is still a little bit of the bad boy there, but also you can start to see the transition into this new perception of him as being the kind of the all-American boy. So what an interesting time capsule, and what a great watch. And it's really interesting as well to see those skills that he has at communicating and connecting with an audience happening on a micro level, happening on a smaller interaction, conversational perspective. It's all there. He just had that in every area of his life. Really fascinating stuff. So, tell me what to cover next. Comments always appreciated. PayPal contributions also appreciated if you can afford to do so without causing yourself any financial hardship. And also, please do check out the Rewatch Project with Hannah and Mike, the audio podcast that shares this feed, in addition to the film, television, music, and other assorted pop culture goodness that shares this channel. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye-bye.